Hey everybody, this is the 20-gallon tank I keep set up for my wife, and I've been looking at the angelfish that's in this tank for a while now, and I really feel like it's a little too big to be in a 20-gallon tank. Angelfish don't need a ton of room in terms of being able to swim around. They're not a really active fish, so I'm not too concerned about an angelfish in a 20-gallon tank, but this particular angelfish has gotten pretty big and it has those long flowing fins, and that's what really concerns me is the fins. They don't need a lot of swimming room, but they do need room to keep their fins from dragging across stuff. You don't want their fins rubbing across rocks, dragging the substrate on the bottom. If they have to kind of stay up in the water column to keep their fins off the bottom, you don't want their dorsal fins sticking out of the surface and being exposed to the air. And this fish isn't really in any of those situations exactly, but it's pretty close. And it doesn't have room to really swim anywhere without kind of going over those rocks or going through the leaves or plants. So I had a chat with my wife this morning. I know she really likes this fish. It's been in this tank for several years now, or at least a couple years now. And she agrees with me that as much as she loves it, it is getting a little too big for this tank, so we think it probably ought to go into a new home. So I'm going to get started on getting it out of here. I don't really see any point in getting that on video. It's just scooping it out with a net. Angelfish are about as easy to catch as guppies, so that's not going to be a big deal, but we will see where it ends up in just a few minutes, so hang on. So I'm sure some of you guessed that it was going to end up down here in my 55-gallon Gourami tank. I did have a large angelfish in this tank before. It's now in my 125-gallon tank. And I moved the other large angelfish out of this tank, if I remember correctly, because the loaches in this tank were kind of bothering it. They weren't really nipping at its fins. They were just doing that thing that loaches do where it almost looks like they're trying to groom the fish or something. They sort of cruise around, sort of going over it, and the angelfish never really seemed to like that. And so I took it out of the tank and I put it over in the 125. And so far, I have seen a little bit of that behavior with the loaches on this fish, and this fish also does not seem to like it. I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but we will have to wait and see. Every time I come in here and try to shoot video, and this is about the 10th time I've done it, this is actually the next day since I moved it. Every time I come in here, the fish is out, swimming around, looking fantastic, fins on full display, and then I walk in the room and it drifts down there into the corner, and it faces me constantly. No matter what angle I try to point the camera at it, it just turns to face me, so you never get to see the amazing fins that it's got. So I think I'm going to go ahead and set my camera up on the tripod and just let the camera roll for a little bit. Maybe I'll put a little food in the tank or something, and we'll just get a few minutes maybe of just seeing this angelfish. There we go. Get a little bit of a look at how awesome the fins on this fish really are. You just don't really fully appreciate it in that little 20-gallon tank until you see it swimming around in this one. Absolutely fantastic looking fish. Now, I know the long-finned angelfishes like this aren't for everyone. A lot of people prefer the angelfish that have the more traditional sort of compact fins like that, and that's fine. Everybody has their own tastes. I like them both personally, but I really do like seeing these angelfish with these incredibly long fins like this. And if you look at them closely, you can see how as they get down towards the tips, they start forking and branching and splaying out, and you get all of that sort of filaments off of the tips. And you just don't see that on fish that aren't healthy and in good condition and getting nipped by other little smaller fish. So even though that fish was in a 20-gallon tank, it is clearly a very healthy, good-looking fish. So we'll find out over time whether or not these black skirt tetras are going to nip at its fins. I don't think they're going to. In fact, I just shot a short little video while I was standing around waiting for this fish to do something. I shot some video of my black skirts, and I've never seen them nip at the fins of my gourami, or when the other angelfish was in here, they never bothered it. So I'm not expecting any issues with this fish at all. The only problem will be if the loaches harass it and it's just too stressed out. But I don't really think we're going to see any fins getting damaged or any of those filaments getting nipped down or cut short or anything like that. I think it's going to be just fine in those regards. So there you go. There's the hopefully permanent new home for this angelfish, and we'll have to figure out what we're going to do about putting a new fish upstairs in my wife's tank for her. The tank looks all empty and lonely now, so we will probably wind up getting... I like having an angelfish in that tank, so I'm probably going to look for another one, but instead of looking for one that's going to be long-finned like this, I'll look for one that's a little more compact, and that way I think it'll be fine being in a 20-gallon tank. In fact, if we come over here, I know this tank's a little bit of a mess at the moment, but this is a 20-gallon tank. And that angelfish in there, I mean, look how much tank is there for that angelfish. And that angelfish is, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. I've had it for 5 or 6 years now. It was full grown when I got it, so I don't even know how. Oh no, this one was not. I'm thinking of a different fish. This one was not full grown when I got it. I got it as a little dime-sized baby, maybe a little quarter-sized baby. But it's about 5 or 6 years old, 7 years old at least by now, and it's fine in that 20-gallon tank. It's not too big for that tank at all. And it also just went in this tank. It's not like it's grown up in this tank. It actually grew up in a 55-gallon tank, and then I moved it down to a 20 because it does just fine in there. So again, I'm not worried about having an angelfish in a 20-gallon tank. It's just that particular angelfish had too much in the way of the long flowing fins, and you can see this one too. Once it gets out and starts moving around, maybe I can spook it a little, also has pretty elaborate finnage, so you're not going to really want to squeeze one that looks like that into a 20-gallon tank. So this one likes showing off. I don't ever have any trouble getting this one to turn sideways and show me its fins. So there you go, everybody. New home for my angelfish. Hope you enjoyed that. I will leave you with this tank, and this, of course, is my 125-gallon tank. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you real soon in the next one.